right, we will go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I want to kick off this event by thanking all of our UCI alumni who have already logged into the program. We're very excited for this, our latest installment of the Lunch with Eaters lunchtime event series that we've been doing virtually for several months now. It's been a phenomenal slate of speakers, and we're super excited about our featured speaker today, Julia Gash. But before I introduce Julia, I'll go ahead and let you know who I am. I'm Jeff Menhas. I'm Executive Director at the UCI Alumni Association, class of 2004, Zod Zod. And thrilled to see so many alumni dialed into the program today. We're gonna have a real fun one. Hopefully we'll be able to express our creative outlets today with our amazing special guest. So this is the 6th installment of our Lunch with Eaters series. We do it twice a month virtually here. You can find it on our amazing resource page, which we call Anteaters Go Virtual. We have a plethora of resources for you, even for your family, for your professional networks, for your professional development on our website at the Anteaters Go Virtual page. And we share that link a lot. It'll be in the follow-up email you get. It'll also be on the last slide that we have up on this page today. And we also have an archive of previous events, including the Lunch with Eaters series you may have missed, Wellness Wednesdays that many of our alumni chapters have been putting on, and more. We're in this together, and the Anteater community is actually thriving from a distant, socially distant point of view, with our alumni around the world coming together to put on and to engage in really, really fun programs in the Anteater spirit. So a couple of quick housekeeping things. You're all muted as attendees for this event, just so we can eliminate background noise. However, we do encourage you to be engaged and be interactive. So we hope that you'll have questions along the way today. You can use the chat feature on Zoom to submit your questions. And then in the last 15 or so minutes of this hour, we will have a Q&A portion that'll take place towards the end with Julia. Now, let me go ahead and introduce Julia Gash, who we are very fortunate to have join us today. Julia is a creative entrepreneur and British artist who is passionate about print and maps. She creates hand-drawn illustrations using brush and ink and collaborates with retailers and licensees worldwide to create sustainable and stylish gifts and souvenir ranges. One of her more recent projects was for our very own UCI Alumni Association, where she created the artwork for our beautiful membership blanket, which you'll be able to see here in a second. It is a promotional blanket that you could have received when you signed up to join the Alumni Association as a life member, as you'll see here on the slide. It is very personalized to UCI. So all of us who have been to UCI recognize some of these landmarks, some of these trademarks, different versions of the Anteater, and some of our really special places on campus. So Julia really tapped into our culture. I have to say she did that despite being overseas in England. So Julia is hailing from Devon County in the southwest of England. Right now it's about 8 p.m. for her. Julia describes where she is as the California of England. So maybe that's how she was able to tap into our culture a bit, living by the sea in the southwest. So without further ado, let's please join me in giving Julia a big Anteater welcome. There's Julia, hi.
Hello, hi Jeff. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you. Nice to sort of meet you all, Zoom meet you all in California and UCI. Hello from Devon.
Well, Julia, we're excited to learn more about you. I've got a few questions for you before you kind of guide us through how you go through your craft, and we're going to be excited to join you on that process today. But as we've talked, your background is as a creative entrepreneur and map-making artist. What drew you to this type of art style?
Well, when I started drawing maps, we've got to sort of go back to about 2012. And at the time I was running a manufacturing company in Sheffield, England, which is in the north, the cold north of England. And I was making canvas tote bags, working with fair trade factories in India and having a print factory in the UK so we could turn them around quickly. And making for lots of retailers in the UK. And one of the things they were always short of was designers. And I was a designer, but a dormant designer because my business life had taken over. And at the time, it was 2012, the Olympics in London. And one of the big retailers said, we need tote bags in our shops, but we've got no artwork to put on it. We need something. So I said, I'll do it. We'll do it. So I wanted the bag contract. So I drew a map of London. And it went from there. But right from the get-go, I realised I wanted to sort of draw in a way which really engaged people and also communicated the sort of joy of discovery. And I thought, what I really want to do is capture that sense of awe and wonderment of a child discovering the world. When a child sees something and wow, when a child sees the sea for the first time or something that's unfamiliar. And that's why I sort of draw in a childlike way.
Wow, okay. What are some of your favorite pieces, maybe that you have created, aside, of course, from the blanket that we just saw, because that's probably my favorite piece, but do you have some others?
In terms of products, because my artwork gets printed on products all over the world by licensees in Japan, in Canada, in America, in the UK. And I have to say that blanket must be one of my favorites because it's such a beautiful product and it's a beautiful thing to have in your home. I have one. The one I have is of Wisconsin, which was the very first university that I drew in America. But in terms of artworks, it's so hard to think of favorites. I think it's always the last one I've done seems to be my favorite. And the last one I did was a couple of days ago, and that was of an area in Bavaria in southern Germany. And it was all mountains and castles. And ironically, I went there when I was a little girl. I think I was about 8, 9 years old. And I drew then when I was on holiday. I was always drawing as a child. So yeah, I went back to the beginning.
Wow. So you mentioned Wisconsin and of course UCI, and you have pieces all over the world. But why universities? Why has that appealed to you as maybe one of your niches or areas that has really inspired you in your art?
I think I first started working with universities in the UK. And one of the things about universities is obviously students come from all over the world. And they also not just connect with the university, but connect with also the location around the university too. And all the culture, the buildings, the mascots, just like at UCI, you've got so much rich culture, which is sort of woven into that design. And that's also what people can connect to. And I think I realized that when students come to a city, and in Sheffield, where I was living at the time, we have 2 big universities there, but people want something to connect and take home with them afterwards and to feel that bond. And so I was drawing something which really helped students to express their love of wherever their university town was, city. And UCI, I have to say, is one of my favorites. And partly it's down to Peter, because he's just the cutest mascot ever. But I also love the sunshine yellow of UCI. Some of the university artworks I do, I have to do a lot of red and black, and it's not my favourite colour combo. It's quite sort of heavy and harsh, whereas the gold of UCI just shines, and so it's a joy to do it.
Oh, that's amazing, and I love that you commented on Peter, our beloved mascot. The mascot who wins all mascot competitions worldwide every year, it seems to me anyway. Did you have any other thoughts when you were doing our piece and researching the university on any other of the unique landmarks or things like the anteater as our mascot or boba? Did you even know what that was?
No idea. And so everything is discovery for me. And each university is different, and with UCI, I love putting in natural landmarks and little local sort of icons, like the little grouse, and I always love drawing palm trees, hibiscus flowers. I like drawing people in action. So you've got a very sort of awkward basketball player sort of shooting at the net, and he's all arms and legs, and I quite like drawing that awkwardness.
Brilliant. Well, that is a nice transition to see what our audience is going to be able to do today under your guidance. So with that, we'll kind of transition. There's going to be a poll popping up, everyone, on your screens that we'd like to ask. What level of art experience do you have or identify with? I'll tell you that mine is definitely number one, none, but ready to try this. I'm feeling inspired because of our Anteater connection with Julia, but I have no artistic background. I'm sure some of you are across the scale. So please take another 5 seconds or so to fill that out. And then we will move into the artistic instruction. And for that, oh yeah, we have results here. Okay, the majority, or 44%, are beginners but ready to go. But we do have some intermediate and at least one experienced artist here. So Julia, with that, I'm going to hand the reins over to you. And please, oh, are you going to switch your camera? We're going to move into the live painting session. So Julia, please take it away.
I am. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. So here I am in my studio in Devon, and what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit, first of all, about the sort of materials that we might use and the sort of setup we have. And this is my setup here in Devon. So I have a drawing board here which is angled, which helps me so I'm not too sort of bent over, because when you're sat at a desk hours a day, as well as whatever sort of work you're doing, you need to ensure that your posture is good. I also have to get up and move every half an hour, so because sometimes when I'm absorbed in a design, you can just really sort of get to it. But anyway, I draw with brush and ink, and this is black Indian ink. I'm just going to pour a little bit out here carefully, because black ink gets everywhere. I have a little ceramic, it's actually, I think, a little like Japanese wasabi dish, and I tend to use that. Let's move that out of the way. Tend to use that for putting my ink in, and I draw with quite a fine brush. It's called a 0 size brush, so that I can draw quite a fine line, which it means I can also write with. But so I use brush and ink, and how I create work is through layers, because most of my work, it gets printed, and so I tend to think in terms of a printer where you have layers of colour. So I will do my layer first, which is like the outline, but things will change. Like, although that is black and white, as you can see on the actual artwork, I know in my mind that's going to be yellow with a dark, very dark blue, and this is a contrast sheet underneath, which will be the yellow, and that's what I'll be doing on a light box that I have. And sometimes I make notes on the artwork to my design assistant, who puts this together over the computer. So fill means that will be a solid colour, so that's that background behind the student centre. So this is how I work, and sometimes edits get attached, and it all gets stapled, it all gets numbered, it all gets archived. But that's how I draw. Another tool that's important for me as I draw is some Tipp-Ex, because when I draw, then sometimes I might change my mind or make a mistake. So I don't want to be too precious about something. So having something there which I can correct just gives me peace of mind. Of course, you might be using other materials too, like something, for example, another thing you can use is, this is a bag of gouache, and that's like a very thick watercolour. And here I have my watercolours from, this is 30 years old, this is from my student days, and I was using it actually yesterday. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways to be creative. There's no rules, you just do what comes naturally to you. And it's a bit like finding a musical instrument. It's finding your voice, and it's just what fits and suits you. And this seems to fit and suit me. So anyway, so if we are all sat, and we're going to do some drawing. If you want to get some paper, or you might have a canvas, or you might have some fabric, or you might have scissors and collage, we can see what we're going to do. So what I'm actually going to do, because I'm not actually going to create something for print, we're just going to create something today. I've got a really nice, whoops, when I can get it, yellow piece of paper. Let's get a small bit, a yellow piece of paper. And what I'd like to do, I think I'm going to start with Peter, because he's just sort of popping out at me at that picture there. And I'm going to actually think about drawing his legs and his face, but I want to put some yellow in the background. So I'm going to just cut a shape here. Actually, I've cut right in the middle there, which is so wasteful. Shouldn't really be doing that. Should be something like that, I think. And then for his head, oh yes, we can use, let's have a thing, and his ears. So this is going to go behind whatever I'm going to draw. I think like that. Now, I'm not worried about things being accurate, because sometimes if something's super accurate, what's the point of doing it? You might as well just get a camera and do it. So I've got a bit of PVA glue, and I'm just going to get a brush, and I'm going to stick a bit of that down. Let's have a look here. That and that. Yeah, I need a bit more on this, so I'll put a little bit in a second. Let's put that there. So that's going to be his hind legs. Now, you might be drawing Peter too, but you don't have to. You can choose anything that's special and important to you from UCI. Now, it could be a slogan. It could be, I'm looking for my scissors now. It could be something you did. It could be a sport. It could be a place that you used to frequent. It could be the library. It could be a cafe. It's all about what's important to you, because all of our experiences of UCI, or your experiences of UCI, because I've not been there yet, my experiences through my art, everything will be different. Okay, so I've got my base yellow down, so let's have a go. I'm going to start here. And I'm going to draw hind legs here, and I'm following the drawing that I did when I first did it. So, and then his ears, this Peter's ears, such cute little ears, little floppy ears. I've never seen an anteater before. I'm sure if you guys have been to UCI, you probably have. So, oh, this is interesting. So I've got UCI in white. Now, some people, when they're using watercolours and inks, they'll have some white stuff, which they can draw that and then dry it and then paint over it and peel it off. But I'm just going to go freehand and draw it like this. I'm using a black ink, but a navy blue ink would have been nice, but I wanted something really dark and solid. Okay, so let's have a look here. I hope your drawings are coming along as well, or paintings, whatever you're doing. Okay, let's do a C here. And sometimes by drawing in a really free way like this, it just gives it energy and life rather than it being really static. Okay, so this is arm. We need to do his eye, and I can see his eye is white, and I think that's important to keep white. So I need to find, oops, this is one of the problems I'm drawing on a board is that it sometimes slips down when I'm not, I could stick it, but I quite like having it in my hand. So I'm going to cut a bit of white here. And that's going to be for his eye. So let's find that blue again. Here we go. Because I think it's the white of his eye. That's his life, that's his spirit, and we need that to be here. Okay, so let's get that black ink again. There. So there we have Peter. I don't know if you can see him there. There he is. And so I chose a solid yellow paper because I just wanted that yellow to be really strong. So, okay, let's have a go at something else. I think the Newkirk Alumni Centre, given that it's your building, would be good. So when I'm drawing, one of the things I do is I go and Google everything. And sometimes I'll look at pictures. Sometimes I'll actually go and Google Earth a place and actually go, okay, you know, let's have a look at that angle. And I need to look at the best angle to draw, but I also need to be thinking about what the customer wants and what's important to them too. So what I'm going to do is go back and just look at the photos. And I think I'll take that view. So I look at the view which I think is the most interesting aesthetically, but also what the customer likes. And when I see the glass on that Newkirk building, I can see the stripes of the lines of the glass, and it sort of reminds me a bit like tartan plaid. And so that's something I think I'm in my mind when I'm drawing it. When I first start drawing, I sketch out something too. Oops. So I'll get all the buildings up on a design brief, which has been given to me by the customer, so the university, and then I'll just sketch out sort of the locations. Now that just looks like a scribble to people, but I know what it is. Right, so Newkirk building. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, let's get back to the building. So what I'm going to do is just draw the walls either side. And again, just this yellow as a background colour. It's a bit easier than drawing Peter, actually. Okay, because actually drawing logos is really hard because they've got to be spot on. Whereas if the building's not quite there, then it's a little bit more forgiving. Okay, so let's put that on there. So I've got my two bits of my building there. Okay, and then we've got a nice black roof here. You probably see one of the things I like about using ink, it just flows. And I'm using very smooth paper. It's called Bristol board. And it's just very smooth and flows. Otherwise, it would just catch. It catches a bit, but that's all, again, part of its beauty. And one of the things I like about ink is that you're never in control of it. It sort of has a bit of a mind of its own. And I'm a huge fan of Japanese art and Japanese printmaking and Japanese calligraphy. And I think it is because they use brush and ink. And here comes almost like the tartan plaid. Now, if I was doing this for product and I was working in my way, I'd be thinking some of those lines would be in yellow and some would be in black. So I wanted this look like bricks, so we do a few little dashes to sort of simulate it looking like a brick. Oh, and there's Peter, the Anteater again. Let's get his nose there. And then we've got some windows coming down there like that. Almost like rain. Not that you get much rain in California. And yeah, that's the New Kirk. Alumni Centre. I also love writing. Writing is part of, with ink, is part of also my artwork. The writing and the text together is really important. So, how are we doing for time? Okay. Right, so probably do one more if that's okay. If not, if Jeff, if you want to just tell me if you need me to stop, then that's fine. If not, I'll carry on.
Yeah, we're doing great, Julia. Thank you.
Okay, so what shall I draw now? I think I'll have a go at the infinity fountain. I love drawing water, and so something like the infinity fountain is a really good thing to do. So let's Google that. Okay. Oh, move that out the way. Okay, so and here we go. So this is literally what I do. I have a design brief which gives me all the things I have to draw, and may have a little picture on as well, and then I Google, and I have to also work out sometimes where things are on the campus. Sometimes I get a campus map which is very helpful, but not everything's on it, and it may not show where a fountain is. So what I would want to draw when I'm drawing the fountain is sort of like a real splish splash. Again, you know, water is, and moving water, as you can imagine, is an incredibly hard thing to draw. But let's have a go. So I'm not going to put any background colour on this. I'm going to draw this wonderful shape. And what I tend to do is sometimes look around at different pictures. Like I've just seen it's got a little, like a little fork at the top there, which I don't think I realised before. So let's do this nice big circle. Again, I'm not worried about it not being perfect, because life isn't perfect, things aren't perfect. And I think one of the ways I draw, when I draw things in this quite naive, spirited way, is just, it's a way of just saying that, really, that it doesn't matter if things aren't perfect. If we want perfection, then I guess we just take a camera and take a photo of it. But even with that, it still allows us to have our own expression.
And Julia, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you know we're doing very well on time. So we can probably do another idea after the infinity fountain if you would like.
Great. If anybody wants to ask me to do something, oh, someone's just asked some ants. Okay. I don't think I drew ants. Did I? On the, oh, of course, ants for Anteater. Makes sense. I've got lots of ants in my garden at the moment, because I could do with Peter being here. So yeah, we can draw some ants. If anything else people would like me to draw, then just say. So I like drawing water as sort of dashes. It's almost like the light reflecting on it. Actually, I think I've got a yellow pen somewhere, so I think I'll get my pen out to add to this. Okay, I think that's a yellow. Looks yellow to me. Okay, let's see what we've got. Yeah. You might not be able to see that. I've just got a bit of yellow. Yeah, you probably can't. I'll hold it up. So there's just a bit of yellow coming in there as well. And yeah, I can colour in with yellow too. You're lucky you've got such a really nice colourway for your branding. Some of the universities I draw, it's not so pretty. It's yours. Okay, so let's have a look at some ants. Now, even if I'm going to draw ants, I think I know what ants look like, but I would still go and Google ants, because sometimes when you start looking at something, it's really interesting. You notice things that you didn't realise before. I hope your drawings or paintings are coming on. It'd be nice if you want to let us know on the chat, then just let us know. So I'm now going to look at some ants and drawing some ants. Gosh. Let's put them in front of Peter. This is dinner. Probably a little snack. There's little legs. And they've got something coming out of their head. I guess there's little antennae. Yeah. How many legs do ants have? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, I think I need to do another leg. That's supposed to be on the other side. And let's draw another ant. I think Peter's getting quite happy. I think I need to, actually I haven't put Peter's name on, so let's do that too. And another little ant. And sometimes I like it when I'm drawing and things happen like this, you think, oh, actually, I'll just add this. And it's not part of the design brief, but sometimes it's nice just to do it, and we'll do a little ant trail there. And so Peter's now, he's not alone, he's got some ants. So let's just draw Peter. One of the things I do love is writing letters, and my dad was a sign writer. I was brought up in a print business, and from being a little girl, I had a Saturday job, which was to clean my dad's print factory, which, as you can imagine, I absolutely hated. And but by the time I was 18, I'd done virtually every job within the business. And also I used to see my dad writing letters for hours, signs for cinemas, churches, shops. I used to go all over the country. And so that was the environment. I was brought up in a creative environment and a business environment. So the two things for me have always gone hand in hand. So, okay. Someone's asked for, oh, Magor. Okay, I don't know if I drew that on the original one, but that's fine. Let's have a go at Magor. Okay. Let's find Magor Hall. Right, Magor. So this has meaning for someone at UCI. Magor Hall. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Magor Hall is our original biosciences building, and it's the big green and silver, unique, very unique considering UCI's other architecture.
Yeah, I love it. So when I see something like this, one of the things I like is the repeat pattern of the windows, and sometimes I look at like repeat patterns. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw this just here, and this big sort of tower structure has sort of something quite monumental about it. I've always loved buildings. I love travel, I love buildings. So doing what I'm doing is just, for me, it's just obviously a sheer joy. And so as I'm drawing this, I'm sort of discovering about your university and also this building, which I've obviously never seen before in my life. And it's just such a lovely thing to be able to do. And then I realise actually it comes out there and goes in a bit there and comes out there and goes in there. So sometimes when you look at something, you don't realise that until you actually look at it. You think, oh, okay, these horizontal lines are quite important. And that one's in the middle of that band. And let's do this one here. Again, I'm not worried about, you know, people know what I'm doing is a spirited drawing. This isn't like an architectural study, otherwise the building would just fall down. So, I always say about my work, I do map-like illustrations, but don't use it as a map, otherwise you'll get lost. Okay, and there we have more finer. Okay, and in here I've got some windows there as like little repeated dots, and then on here I'm going to draw that there, and then they're almost like piano keys. I love discovering buildings through my work. Sometimes it's strange when I then go and see it in the flesh, and sometimes I think, oh no, I've got to draw that again, that's not how it should be. And then you think, oh, but then there's all these steps. Okay, let's draw some steps. There's lots of steps leading up to this, and they go different ways. And I'm not going to draw every step. One of the things about being an artist is about choosing what to leave in and what to leave out, because these steps are going all different angles actually, and you don't realise that from just looking at the photo. I'm sure some of you have walked up these steps a few times and you probably know what it feels like. Which is the other thing, really, when you try and draw, you're not just drawing what something looks like. You're drawing what you think something feels like. So that's why I exaggerate certain features, like on a tower. I want to exaggerate sometimes, you know, how tall something is. Or like Peter's eye, you know, it might be sort of disproportionately big, but that's because, you know, we want to see that eye. I guess just like a child would, you exaggerate the things that are important to you, the things that pop out. There we go. I love double L's. Okay. Now, normally if I'd be doing two colours, I'd be thinking how the two colours work together, but I haven't, but I can draw some. Obviously there's some sort of yellow stripes there, so I'll draw that. Okay, so that's McGaw Hall. Oh, someone says they can't see shoulders to copy. You don't have to copy me, it's okay. Do your own thing. Yeah, it may be better than mine. You've got, you know, insider information. You know these buildings, you know these places. What about drawing the science library? Well, I've got one space there. Have I got time, Jeff, do you think?
Let's see, we can do, you know what, why don't we pause there, and I'll ask some questions, because some great questions have come in for you. And first, if you don't mind, oh, you know what, you do have, it's a shame, I wouldn't want to waste that space on your paper. Have you seen the science library?
No.
Because it actually would fit there perfectly. So I'm going back on what I just said, but we would love maybe if you could send a picture of your final paper there, so we can use it in our summary email and make sure everyone has a copy of that. But the science library would fit in perfectly, and that has a nice story behind it as well, as you would see once you look it up.
Oh yeah, quite Art Deco inspired.
Yeah, so let's do that one, and then we'll move to Q&A.
Would you like me to draw this now, or? Sorry,
yeah, if you're okay with that, why don't you do that now?
Of course, let's do it. So let's get that up. Okay, so again, I'm looking at this sort of angle. Actually, this is really striking at night. And I'm looking at those squares. So what I'm going to do, I should have put some tape to stick that so it doesn't fall down. I'm going to cut a piece of paper again. So what I'm going to cut is actually a couple like this, equal size. So these are going to be like literally the building blocks at the bottom. And they've got like a bit of an indent in there. Is that going to be too big? Yes, that's too big. So that what I can do is just cut that down a little bit. Just give that a trim. Find my glue. Here we go, my PVA. Stick that in there. That's too big. One of the things when you're drawing something is that don't be precious. Just, it doesn't matter if it's not right. Like you said, I got that wrong. It doesn't matter. I can just cut it down. So what I'm trying to draw here, I'm sort of trying to think of communicating the solidity of those two columns at the bottom. And I've got that now. Okay, so, okay, and now they've got these black sort of like shelves there, and this wonderful like concertina effect window, which goes up like that, and like that, and then down, and let's just. So I'm using the different sort of angle of my brush to get thinner lines and thicker lines. But I guess it's almost like music notes where you've then got, you know, things that go up and things that go down. If it was all the same, it wouldn't be so interesting. I don't think anyway. That's how I like to draw. And some people might choose drawing materials because it is the same, because that's the look they're going for. And now I've got to do the same on the other side, but of course it's never the same. And sometimes people think, you know, two sides of a building might be identical, but actually when you look up close, it really is. Okay, so let's put some of those zigzags. This reminds me of sort of like a bit of Art Deco type architecture. Sort of like from the films, quite glamorous actually, and confident and optimistic. You know, it's like pointing out.
Indeed, and in fact, we have a number of films that have been shot at UCI with our various types of architecture. That's a good observation.
There you go. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. It's beautiful. So here we've got these two columns. Now, I wouldn't normally draw these in black because, but black is what I've got to make it look sort of like real. And here we've got some, I would like to have put some yellow in there, but not to worry. And we've got some windows on the sides, each side. And then there's a column in the back there. Okay, so I think that needs to be a bit more pointy because it really is pointing out, almost like wings. And again, I like to combine a thin line with a thick line just to give it sort of different tones. So this is the science library. Science library, yeah.
Yeah.
Science. One of the hardest things about what I draw is actually spelling things correctly, because sometimes when you're in the middle of a drawing, you're so absorbed that you can easily miss out a letter of a word and not notice because you're just so absorbed into what you're doing. I didn't write the infinity, is it the infinity pool, infinity fountain?
Infinity fountain.
Fountain, yeah, so let's get that in there. Let's move that up. And found.
While you're putting the finishing touches on there, Julia, I want to thank Karen, nice one, Wender, for suggesting you draw the science library, and point out Catherine Babb in the audience points out that the science library was designed by British architects James Stirling and Michael Wolff.
There you go. You see, that's probably why I connected with it.
Wonderful. Well, you know, I've got some comments, if you don't mind, and some questions that we'd love to answer from the panel.
Shall I move that? Okay.
Okay, perfect. Well, Julia, I found it fascinating. In that whole time you were doing all 6 or 7 of those items, I got one done. I got my my BC anteater. I don't know if you can see it, but just one, because I'm so slow. And I'm like, am I doing this right? You can't really see it. Anyway, it's a decent
on the wall behind you, and it looked fabulous.
Okay, thank you. But what you pointed out was you don't have to be exact. This is not an architectural study exercise. You choose what to leave in and what to leave out, and draw what it looks like, not what it looks like, but instead draw what it feels like. And I think that really resonates in why I love your blanket so much, is because it is what the actual buildings and items feel like on campus. Not necessarily every little detail, but it does a phenomenal representation.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Jeff, when you are, say, on campus, wherever you are, your eyes tell you a lot about the place. That's how we receive a lot of information, but we receive it in other ways too. We receive it through our ears, the smell, what something feels like, you know, the breeze, the temperature, and, you know, we're absorbing all these things, but also we have our own feelings as well. We may be anxious, we may be excited, we may have had, you know, really good time, good sports game. All of these sort of feelings and emotions come into it as well. So, for example, when I drew Harold and Maud, I wanted to draw a little heart between them, just to show a bit of cute affection there between the two. You know, these are the sort of things that how we experience places. It's not just through our eyes. Yeah,
lovely. Well, so some more questions from the audience here for you, if you don't mind. Maria Ortega Kummer writes, she'd like to know how do you think about placing the various buildings, tourist sites, images on the page? Do you sketch it out and then move things around on the page, or do it in your mind, or it just flows for you? Do you have a process for that?
Yeah, I guess you probably can't see me at the moment, can you? Or can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you head on.
Oh, little, yeah. So I drew it. So initially, when I get the list of things to draw, I will Google Earth or Google around to find out where they're located. So I always put things geographically in place. And then I draw a little sketch. This is one of a county in England called Sussex. Again, probably nobody really knows what that is. It's just a load of marks on a page. But that's me. I know I've plotted it out. And the reason why there's so many scribbles will be because I've changed my mind. So I have a list. I then will, sometimes universities will provide a campus map, which is helpful. But as I said, lots of things on the map, like the Infinity Fountain won't necessarily be, or various things. So I have to try and work out where I think they should be. And it's always geographically. But then if things are just in place, you get gaps. And in the gaps, that's where we put, for example, it might be a grad cap or a stack of books or a palm tree or a little squirrel, to sort of fill it up so it's got an even flow without, because also you do need a flow, because your eyes got to move around the design and be engaged, not just have, you know, buildings really.
Okay, thank you. Now, another anonymous attendee asks, how much total time do you usually spend on a project, going from the initial meetings with the client to your design and then final product?
Yeah, well, I very rarely meet a client actually. Sometimes at trade shows once a year, but usually I will be sent a design brief by one of my licensees from around the world. So my licensee for American universities is based in Chicago. I met them at a trade show in Hong Kong. I've been to Chicago to visit them, but they will email me a design brief and say, hey, we've got a design brief for UCI. And I'll have a look at it and ask any questions. And I'll book it into my design schedule. But it usually takes me about 3 hours to do an artwork. So something like the UCI probably took about 3 hours. It will then get scanned and converted. My design assistant puts it together on Photoshop. And then when I'm happy, that will go back over the ocean to Chicago, to the licensee who will send it to UCI. And it will go back and forth until it's absolutely ready and right. And sometimes things hardly need any editing. Sometimes they need quite a bit of editing because people might change their mind. They may not get permission on a logo. All sorts of things happen. But I guess it usually about 4 hours then, 4 or 5 hours in total. Oh, oh.
Oh, that was my fault. My fault. I was on mute. I was saying that is fascinating that you're able to work that fast.
I work quickly. I guess I'm quite commercially orientated, and also, but it's also about keeping the spirit of something. Sometimes you have to keep that spirit and that energy there. If I took forever, it would lose that energy.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. We're just about at the end of our hour, but I wanted to kind of wrap up with some final comments as well as a poll question. So, Julia, first of all, we'll wrap up in a little bit, but I wanted to say thank you for sharing your process with us and sharing your lovely artwork and applying it to UCI.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're welcome, Jeff, and thank you to all of you who participated and had a great go at drawing. I look forward to seeing some of your paintings and drawings, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And as much as I enjoy getting to know UCI through my art, so thank you. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of the day and have a lovely weekend in California.
We will try, and we do have anteaters dialing in from around the world too. So those of us here will do our best everywhere. But thanks again, Julia. We're going to ask the audience now for a poll. Another question. We just want some feedback on how this Lunch with Eaters series has gone for you, so that we can see how many attendees are coming back. Please go ahead and take a few seconds to answer that poll. I want to point out that I learned a lot today about art being in political science alumnus from UCI and an ICS minor. Didn't know anything about it, but now I do. And I was thinking of some suggestions. If you'd like to take some of Julia's lessons forward and express your creative energy, you can think about some of the brutalist architecture we have at UCI, and we're very famous for William Pereira's designs, the Langston Library, for example, Gateway Plaza, Aldrich Hall, which was formerly the administration building. Those were the buildings that were in one of the Planets of the Apes movies. There's also the water tower near the Brent Event Center that now has a giant anteater and a UCI stack logo, which you see both of those right behind me. The bronze anteater statue at the Brent, of course. The new Middle Earth and Mesa Court Towers. If you haven't seen, campus is still changing and adding more housing for more and more students and faculty every year. And of course, our beautiful Aldrich Park, which is represented in Julia's blanket artwork. So maybe you want to try those as kind of next steps. For everyone who is interested in the blanket, we did have a number of questions come in today. This is a unique opportunity. You can only get that blanket as a promotion with a life membership to the UCI Alumni Association, and you can do that now. More details exactly on how to sign up for our membership and receive that blanket will be sent in the follow-up thank you email that we send out shortly after this event. A few updates. Our next Lunch with Eaters event is going to be in 2 weeks on Friday, August 7th from 12 to 1. And we're excited to announce our speaker very shortly. So that'll be TBD for now. But if you do have any follow-up questions that pop into your mind for Julia or us, feel free to reach out to us at alumni@uci.edu, and we will forward those to Julia and see if we can provide you with an answer. A recording of this webinar was made and will be archived and put on our website at the Anteaters Go Virtual page, which I mentioned earlier. And there was also interest in some earlier Lunch with Eaters events we did. We actually did a on-site virtual visit with the actual Peter the Anteater, named Peter, the giant anteater at the Santa Ana Zoo. So we got to learn all about real anteaters and their inspiration, of course, and tie into UCI. So with that, we are just about at the end. So I'm going to wrap up the event. I wanted to give our profound thanks once more to Julia for lending your time and artistry to inspire us in this time of being socially distant. We appreciate it. I drew with my daughter's colored pencils and my son's sketchbook. So I'm going to share this with my family. I hope you all are able to do the same. Thank you everyone in the audience for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Lunch with Eaters on August 7th. So thank you very much and take care, everybody.